Let's look at Indiabulls Housing Finance. It's down about 2% since yesterday. It's not done pretty well with the market, and there are some concerns that what happens to the LAP business. In fact, what happens to the overall housing finance business, that's what the street is worried about. Let's get the management of Indiabulls Housing Finance. They would be able to explain us what do they make of this move. Gagan Banga, Vice Chairman and Managing Director at Indiabulls Housing Finance, joins us on the phone line now. Gagan, thank you so much for taking out time for us. Can you just tell us what do you make of the move to crack down this black money, and how can this have a big impact on the property prices?
So I would, our sense is that the move is extremely positive for businesses such as ours. All three products of ours, which is home loans, loans against property, and the commercial loan portfolio, specifically within commercial loans, we have around 8-9% of our portfolio, which is around construction finance. All of these segments are going to receive a large boost because of the initiative taken by the government, and it would impact the asset side extremely positively by increasing the credit demand. It will also strengthen the entire collections platform further, because the monies into the formal system will increase the funds flow into the escrow accounts that we have for our non-salaried customers. Those would go up, and in the segments that we operate, which is essentially for the non-home loan segment, we are focused only on the top 4-5 cities. In those cities, I do not expect the prime locations to have any sort of a meaningful price impact as well. So all in all, I think that on the asset as well as the collection side, there is going to be a huge positive in the medium to long term. On the short term, on the liability side, there is already a positive which is emerging. We have seen yesterday how the government securities and related yields have all gone down, and that should result in a meaningful inch up in our margins, and it is on that basis that we have upped our guidance as well earlier today by 1 to 3% for the current financial year. So all in all, I think that it has a very positive impact on our business, and we should be able to continue with the growth that we have been demonstrating now for the last 6.5 years, the last 26 quarters. That should continue unabated for the next 3 to 4 years at least.
Right. The point that you made, that you don't expect a very meaningful correction in the property prices. People are talking about 30%, 40%. That's just getting scared, and just it's a sort of initial reaction, you think? Probably when the deals would start to happen, maybe a 10%, 15% correction is what you expect at the max?
So let's understand the market. So, it is common knowledge that the high-end property market in the country hasn't been doing well for the last 3 to 5 years. Property prices are more or less flat in the high end of the market. Demand is significantly down. If you look at how Indiabulls Housing Finance has performed, and most other housing finance companies in the same 5-year period have performed, all of us would have grown something between 2 to 3 times. We've grown roughly 2.5 times in the last 5 years, and that has happened because the residential part of the real estate industry can't be painted with the same brush. What we guys finance is a home of 30-40 lakh of rupees, where the buyer is got an annualized income of 8 to 10 lakh of rupees. That profile of the customer is very, very different to a customer who is purchasing an apartment of 5-7 crores. So the top end of the market undoubtedly has been slow, and perhaps will continue to remain slow for an extended period of time. We are talking about mass affordable housing, which is generally bought in by the salaried individual, and it is a genuine consumption requirement. Now, how is that going to get affected by this when, I am not aware of how a salaried individual has even 1 rupee of cash which is unaccounted for. My sense is this is only going to bring in more monies into the formal financial system and have a positive impact on liabilities as against any negative impact on assets.
Right. As far as the overall largely overall residential space is concerned, largely overall LAP space is concerned, there will be a slowdown but that does not mean that prices may come off. Maybe deals don't happen now. It may be a delayed sort of a deal impact, but that's all that you expect?
I would say that transaction momentum would continue to remain slow in the high end of the market. The transaction momentum would continue to remain slow in people who are investing in plots. Plots which are invested in tier 2, tier 3 locations will slow down. Plots in which developers are acquiring land from farmers for new projects will slow down. But those are segments in which a large housing finance company or a bank would not even be participating in. From the segments that we participate in, I would say that there is going to be not even 1% impact on the overall momentum.
Right. As far as the overall funding side is concerned, with banks getting so much CASA, can you just tell us how will it impact the rates of the company? Do you think the rates would continue to go down and this CASA that they get would be a sustainable CASA?
So my sense is that, besides the banking system getting CASA, it is a lot of money coming into the formal financing system of the country. A lot of the money, and it is anticipated that anywhere between 5 to 6 lakh crores will even not come back into the system. And if that happens, it has a very positive impact on fiscal deficit as the overall liability of the Reserve Bank goes down. It is also disinflationary in nature, which will result in interest rates remaining low for an extended period of time. So, CASA, etc. is all has a reflection on how interest rates are playing out in the economy. Our expectation is that interest rates will continue to remain low for an extended period of time, as this entire exercise is hugely disinflationary, and that can only be very, very positive for the whole housing industry. Housing industry is moved materially by only one thing, which is the gap between rental yields and the mortgage yields. As those narrow and become almost the same, there is a very high increase in sustainable demand which happens. It's happened in India in the past, it's happened globally in the past, and I think we are getting set for a very stable real estate cycle, especially on the affordable housing segment, which will last at least 1 decade.
Right. Can you just talk to us about Indiabulls Housing and the sector? What is the sort of cushion that you have? Say if the prices were to correct by 10, 15% or 20%, will that have a major impact?
So if we look at our LAP portfolio, the LAP portfolio has an average ticket size of 47 to 48%, which means that the cover that we have on average loan is over 2 times. The way that we do our loan is we do not look at the eligibility of the loan on the basis of the property price. We look at the eligibility of the loan on the basis of the actual income of the borrower. So we do a very detailed cash flow analysis of the borrower, and as we do that, that becomes a ceiling on how much loan he takes. And so there is a very large collateral value which exists there, and therefore any marginal depletion in property prices, if any, I do not think there would be any in the top 5-6 cities, but if there is a marginal depletion, that would not impact the loan to values in a loan against property product. The loan to values are as low as 47-48%. A marginal reduction will immaterially impact it. The bigger driver for loans against property is that the cash flow and the various credit ratios that we maintain are actually going to improve as there is more tax compliance, as more money comes into the escrow accounts that we run, because SMEs account for some amount of sales outside of their books. Those sales will also start getting accounted for in the books. So we have done our credit appraisal only on the basis of what is reflected in the books. So all of our credit ratios are only going to go up. The actual cash, the actual collection in the escrow account is actually going to go up. So all in all, it is a very, very positive thing from the asset quality perspective.
Right. Gagan, thank you so much for taking out time for us, and hope to chat with you once again when we have further developments on any LAP prices. That was Indiabulls Housing Finance, the management saying that there's not much of concern regarding the LAP prices, and very clearly explaining that they have a 50% cushion as per their ratio on the LAP portfolio, which the street is worried about.